and welcome to the Orient Outlook podcast, sponsored by Carol Langley Florist, with myself, Steve Nussbaum. And this week, my good friend, the Southend Chum, Beard Legende, the one and only, the daddy-o, Mr. Paul Levy, is sunning himself on holiday. I hope you're having a lovely time, Beard Legende. And in his absence, I'm delighted to welcome back onto the Orient Outlook podcast, rapidly becoming the third Outlooker, another one of our South Stand chums. It's the one and only, the James Dayton lookalike you never knew you needed in your life. It's Mr. Chris Cain. Chris, welcome back to the Orient Outlook podcast. How are you, my friend?
Very well, considering yesterday. Very well.
So you were one of the away fans in the away stand. I look forward to hearing your views and the standpoints on yesterday's performance.
We'll cover that a little bit later.
We certainly will. I just want to pick up when you were last on the podcast. You've been on a few times as co-host this season, and you've been fantastic when you have. You were last on the 15th of September, a few episodes back. After that weekend, we had just come off the back of beating Reading 1-0. It felt like kind of we were back on the road to an upwards curve. We then went away to Stockport after that week and beat them 4-1, as you know. Since then, though, in the next 5 games that came, and Neo's last 5 games, we drew at home to Posh 2-2. We then drew at home to Wrexham 0-0. And in our last 3 games, we've lost the last 3 games. Not been battered, but lost to teams I guess we all expected to get something more from. So obviously we lost to Exeter on the Tuesday 1-0. We then lost to Lincoln City 2-1. And then yesterday we lost to Northampton 1-0. Not to put you on the spot. But what's happened? What's gone wrong?
I don't think the international breaks are helping us. We kind of get a flow going, as we saw with Peterborough, Wrexham, Reading. And then we have a couple of defeats, and then we can't bounce back from them because we have another free weekend. And yes, you can train as much as you like, but there's no similarity really between training and matches. So I don't think that's helping, but also our finishing hasn't been as good as what it should be. And I don't think we're as creative from a wide position as we could be. So that might help, but we've shown we can do it. So let's hope that we can turn it around very, very, very quickly. Yeah,
absolutely with you on that one. You're always an optimistic guy. That's why I like having you on the podcast. Always good to kind of talk to you. Are you still optimistic? How are you feeling like at this moment in time? Because I think Orient got a very big 3 games coming up, and obviously we'll come on to like the forthcoming games with Rotherham, Wickham, and then the short trip to Boreham Wood that I think could be a huge game for the future of Rishi, potentially, if results don't go his way. How are you feeling? Are you optimistic at the moment?
Yesterday I wasn't. Before we got to Northampton, I was in the car thinking if I made the right decision here going up, and unfortunately I was right in that. But I think every team that we play, we do all right to a degree. We defend well, we hold the ball well. It's just getting in that final third. We then seem to go to pot a little bit, but there's positives. I think if we can pick a point up from Rotherham, which I'm not expecting much else against the Steve Evans side, who know how to play their way to a 0-0 draw away from home, then we can start building from that. So I'm not in the we're going down brigade, but I'm also quite realistic and think we are just above the relegation zone. A couple of points, we'll start creeping up.
Okay, all right. Very well articulated there. Chris is here joining me in Paul's absence, like I said. We always start the pod with a shout out to our sponsors. So the pod is sponsored by Carol Langley Florists. They're based in Chingford and have served the borough of Waltham Forest and the surrounding area for over the last 70 years. They've got a fantastic team, can do anything you need. Bespoke wedding events, family funeral tributes, birthdays, anniversaries, anything you need them for, they can do. And they offer all O's fans and staff 15% off, which could bring you a huge saving. We know lots of you are taking advantage of that deal from John, so please keep doing so. We love getting the messages from John telling us you have been in to get your discount. So you can get in touch with John by calling the shop on 0208 529 4130. You can go to their website, you can find the team, www.carollangley.co.uk, or you can go on social media where you can find Carol Langley Florist on Instagram at Carol Langley Florist. You can find the guys on Twitter at Carol Langley E4, and you can find the guys on Facebook at Carroll Langley Florist. And unbelievably, there are still opportunities with the Outlook podcast this season around the Prediction League, around our social media pages. So if you listen to the pod and you fancy getting involved, give us a message on any of those platforms or give us an email at orientoutlook@outlook.com. We'd love to hear from you and offer you a chance to work with us and obviously to push your lovely brands.
Yeah, sounds like a really good opportunity. So moving on to the Supporters Club. Next Saturday, the 26th of October, we travel to Wycombe Wanderers, which is a 3 p.m. kickoff. Coaches depart not the Bray Group Stadium anymore, is it? It's the Gorgon Group Stadium at 11:30 a.m. with an adult fare being £30, concessions at £27 and children are £15. Please remember that this does not include your matchday ticket, so prices will obviously go up for your day out. To book for this trip, please call the Supporters Club on the travel line on 07507 539 579 or pop in and see the team before the Rotherham game or after, and I'm sure they can sort you out from there.
Lovely stuff. All right, there was no podcast last Sunday because the O's didn't play, so we're going to catch up on the last fortnight at the O's. So we go to Happy Monday, the 7th of October. A quiet day at the club. No news to report, but we will say happy birthday to another of our South Stand chums. He sits in front of us. Always good to see him, puts a smile on our face. So happy birthday to Phil Morgan. Hope you had a lovely day, Phil, and look forward to seeing you and your brother Ed in the South Stand very soon.
Yep, happy birthday, Phil. Moving on to Huey Tuesday, the 8th of October, and the O's were drawn away to Dulwich Hamlet in the London Senior Cup, with the tie to be played on Tuesday, the 26th of November.
Yeah, very much expect an Orient XI to turn up for that game, but always good to get out and play the local teams. All right, main event on this day, and we're going to cover this in the most briefest of circumstances, was Colchester United. We faced them at home in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. The team lined up with Hemming in goal, with Ball, Cooper, Simpson and Sweeney at the back, with Obiero, Pratley and Warrington making up the midfield, and DJ, Graham and Perkins making up the 11. On the bench we had Phillips, Beckles, Brown, Donnelly, O'Neill, Adji and Charlie Kelman.
Yeah, so the side saw a few changes from the team that lost 2-1 away at Lincoln the previous Saturday. But we also welcomed former O Rob Hunt coming back following his summer transfer up the A12 to Colchester. So good to see him back, and I'm sure he was quite welcomed by the staff and some of his teammates. The top pro, from what I've heard. Yeah,
really nice guy, and lucky not to get a new deal at the O's, and good luck to him at Colchester. So a few tweets came into us when the team was announced. Paul Red Rum said, I know it's only the EFL trophy, but can someone tell me what formation we're playing and who is playing at right back? Shocking selection from Richie.
Yeah, at Les LK52 said, last chance saloon for 3 of those players. We all know who they are.
Casey Adams, LFC, said, no reason not to play a strong team tonight with there being no game on Saturday. Bit of pressure on the team to score a few goals and put on a good performance after our last 2 games.
Yeah, so the briefest of roundups for the first half for this one, as it was quite a while ago. Not much really to report from the first half, other than just after the half-hour mark, Zek Obiero scored his first goal for the O's. So well done, Zek. His first-time shot was saved by Smith, but he managed to get in and get the second to make it 1-0. Big up also to Jaden Sweeney, who made a good run down the left to put the ball into the area for him. And yeah, I'd say first half, 1-0 to the O's. Positive.
Really positive. Good goal. Good to see Obiero get his first goal for the club. I think Obiero's been mentioned quite a lot over the course of the season and was in the team from the start. Done really well. Found himself completely out of the squad at points. I guess with Ball coming in, puts another kind of position for him to kind of fall back on. And obviously Pratley, Galbraith, Brown and Bornell, all senior pros ahead of him in the pecking order. He's going to have to kind of wait for his turn. Although Richie has always spoken of him very highly and said he's a really promising player who he thinks can go far. And again, good to see him get his first goal and give Richie another headache.
Yeah, I'd rather him play well and give a headache rather than it almost be justified why he's been left out because of a potential poor performance. But from what I can remember, he's never played. Never had a bad game. He might make the odd rookie mistake here and there, but let's be honest, where we're sat at the table, the senior ones are making the mistakes at the same time. So
yeah, can't disagree. Nice to see Sweeney and Obiero kind of combine for that goal, both products of the academy. We've got one tweet at half time from Jame1881 who said, started awful, but started playing really nice football at times. Obiero, best player on the pitch.
Yeah, another brief half of description from us. So the second half kicked off. Substitution in the 66th minute with Jordan Brown coming on for Darren Pratley. In the 73rd minute, Dan Adji and Ollie O'Neill came on for DJ and Jordan Graham. And a minute later, Charlie Kelman came on for Sonny Perkins.
Yeah, so a few changes there to the lineup. But Colchester equalised in the 79th minute after Jack Cain hit a free kick well outside the area. His free kick hit the bar and Goodliff was there all alone as he headed into an empty net to make it 1-1. And after 7 additional minutes were played and Omar Beckles came on for Brandon Cooper, who were taking a knock, the game ended. And obviously, it's being the EFL Cup or the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, you don't draw games. You're drawn games at 90 minutes, then go to penalty shootouts.
Yeah, that's a strange one. I'll be honest, never quite understood that. But yes, so Dan Adji, Ollie O'Neill and Jack Simpson scored their penalties before Zach Kemin saved the penalty from Arthur Reed. Jordan Brown unfortunately saw his penalty saved by Smith, and then Tovide smashed his penalty way over the bar for the visitors, which meant that Charlie Kelman had the opportunity to win it for the O's, which he did as he sent Smith the wrong way and give us 2 points and a 4-2 win on the penalties.
Yeah, all right. So Richie Wellens spoke to Dave Victor after the game. I mean, that interview was almost 2 weeks ago, so we're not going to play it. Again, Richie, I think, kind of alluded to the same problems that he's seen throughout his time this season at the O's, are completely dominating the game. Slack defending sees us let our opposition back in it, and then we had to go through the penalty shootout to get the win. Very short views from me on that one. It's good to see a win. Feels like the same old story. Decent performance, lack of concentration. Don't win it in the 90 minutes. Obviously lucky to win on the penalty shootout. We know, not just as Orient fans, but as football fans, the penalty shootout can go either way. But good to see us win the penalty shootout, actually. Good to see Adji step up and score his penalty after he missed one earlier in the season. He got a bit flat for. And again, it won't do our confidence kind of any harm to win that game technically on penalties. But again, we probably should have been well further ahead of a full-time whistle. Your views on that?
Yeah, I think thankfully the penalty saved us. Again, it's the same old as every week. Dominate possession. We create a few chances. We're lucky if we score one, and then the other team go down, concede, and then we're fighting an uphill battle from there. Realistically, I don't think we'll win the trophy because you've still got your Wrexhams, your Birminghams, your real big money teams in it because it's only the group stages. But winning's the habit. Even if you draw and then win on the penalties, it must still give the players a boost that they've essentially won the tie. So, yeah, any win's a win.
Absolutely. Don't disagree. We had a few views that came into this one. Still quite a lot, actually. Bear in mind that, we obviously got the boycott of the trophy and it was a game on a Tuesday night. So we're going to read a few of these out. Just because we read them doesn't mean we agree with them. Alan Reeves too said, we played the better football. Don't take chances. Don't win. Repeat.
Yeah, I think that's going to be pretty much the trend for most of it. At Neil Langhorne said, poor again, no cutting edge. How many chances did we create? Not many. Wingers don't seem to want to take people on, and too much sideways and backwards for my liking.
Richie J. Ball said, great to get the win on penalties, but a bit worrying that with the changes made from Wellens to kill off the game at 1-0 up, the strong bench didn't show its quality.
At Matty LOFC Evans, a win. Doesn't matter how it comes, but it's worrying how bad some of our new signings this season are, whether they are permanent or on loan. Recruitment is a big topic this season for all the wrong reasons, and I firmly believe a new strategy is needed.
Derby 507 said, we played well at times, but the second half substitutions made us lose our rhythm. Perkins, DJ and Warrington aren't anywhere near as good as the players that they have replaced.
I think that's a good point about substitutions. Richie obviously has a reason for it, but the more changes you make, it does throw whatever momentum you've got completely up in the air.
But they were strong subs though, right? So it wasn't like you were bringing on the weaker players. You were bringing on the stronger players that normally start every Saturday to kind of enhance the performance. And they almost had they had a negative effect within the 90 minutes because they came on with the O's leading and then we lost that lead and didn't get it back within the 90 minutes.
Yeah, rescued it on the penalties, but maybe a spread out of substitutions or doing them all in one go rather than one here, couple of minutes there, another one might be better. But again, if he's playing for time, then you're going to break it up. Final word from at Orient Fan TV said main plus about that tonight was Graham getting just short of 75 minutes. A win's a win though, and it's always nice to win the A12 derby. Another poor performance from Perkins. What a waste of a loan. A lot of players had a chance to stake a claim for starting 11 roles. Unfortunately, none succeeded.
Yeah, I mean, that did seem to be the case. I wasn't there at the ground, but hearing about the game, apparent that Perkins again didn't play very well. Warrington again didn't really impress much, I think it's fair to say. DJ hasn't really impressed much. And those are, I think, the players who, when you need a strong squad, you need players like that to really come through and put pressure on the first team. It doesn't look like it happened. I mean, Jordan Graham, we only covered the game pretty briefly, but Graham came awfully close to scoring in the first half when he rocketed one that hit the bar. So I think he would have been fairly happy with 75 minutes and almost scoring. But I think we need more from not only the subs but the squad as a whole. It doesn't seem to be kind of moving kind of as you would expect it at this point of the season, which obviously puts a lot of pressure on everyone's views around the summer recruitment. And I think we're going to hear a lot more of those views as we round up the Northampton game. So thanks to everyone who tweeted us after that game. Prediction League update. Well done to Ozfan Basing and Len Chinchin1 who predicted 1-1. So they get 3 points. Double congrats to Nino_Barone who predicted 1-1 and Zek to get the goal. He got 4 points. And the top of the table roundup of the Prediction League will follow at the end of the episode.
As it will. So moving on to the following day, Wednesday the 9th of October, Ethan Galbraith was nominated for Sky Bet League One's Player of the Month, so for September. So well done to Ethan.
Yeah, he didn't win it, but good to be nominated for it. It does feel like Ethan's kind of star is rising every week now. I mean, yesterday, which we'll come on to again, seemed to be the outstanding O on the pitch, not for the first time this season. Obviously, he's a Northern Ireland international already anyway. I think his career is only going in one direction, which is up, up, up. I think that's the first time he's been nominated for such an award.
Yeah.
I believe, or I might be wrong.
Settled position as well, unlike last season, where he was playing here, there and everywhere. Seems to have nailed that centre mid spot. Made it impossible to drop.
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's hope.
And it's good to see him fit again as well. Obviously, he missed the previous weekend's game and missed the recent round of international friendlies as well due to his injury. So Thursday, the 10th of October, it was World Mental Health Day. We talk about it a lot on this podcast, but it's okay to not be okay. So if you ever need to talk to anyone, please get in contact with your friends, your family. You can even drop the podcast message if you need to, but just talk out there. There's far too many people with far too many issues who aren't expressing themselves and communicating. So yeah, please speak to people if you need to.
Yeah, can't add any more onto that. Also on Thursday, a happy 22nd birthday to O's midfielder Lewis Warrington and a happy 19th birthday to Thomas Avgustidis, who is seemingly doing quite well out on loan at Potter's Bar.
I think so, yeah, seems to be. There's a few young O's doing well on loan, moving on nicely. A nice little link, Friday 11th of October. Happy birthday to Charlie Pegram. He's at Welling, seems to be doing very well at Welling as well. I think they've taken to him quite nicely there. So good to see those kind of players doing well. But then the argument is, if Pegram is at Welling, which is obviously much lower than League One, I know it is, but we've got kind of players around the same age, Perkins and Pegram. Is Perkins adding anything that Pegram wouldn't add to the squad?
Probably not.
Probably not. Don't know enough about Sonny. Don't know enough about Charlie. But definitely seems that Charlie doing well down there. Long may it continue.
Yeah.
So, well done, Charlie.
The club also announced on Friday that the rearranged home game against Huddersfield would take place on Tuesday the 26th of November with adult tickets at £10 and £1 for kids. So I think that's the same day as the London Senior Cup or whatever it is, isn't it? So I would suggest not going to Dulwich and going to watch Huddersfield, or us at home to Huddersfield instead, because you might see, you should see a little bit more quality. Good
spot there, Mr. Cain. I mean, Huddersfield Town, one of the biggest teams in League One, so I'd be interested to see kind of how many they bring on a Tuesday night to London. It's a bit of a trek. Obviously, they're a Yorkshire club. The Josh Koroma derby. I think we're all looking forward to welcoming Josh back. I think he'll get an amazing reception, as he deserves.
Yeah.
You'd imagine that Huddersfield will sell quite a few tickets for that, even though it's a Tuesday night. I guess my concern and the board's concern is how many Orient tickets do you sell on a Tuesday night? In November, it's going to be chilly, based on the time of year. And although tickets are a tenner and £1 for kids, it'd be interesting kind of what the attendance is. I hope it's a big attendance. I think that's again where we will need the crowd behind us. It's going to be a very difficult game. I think Huddersfield started the season really well, faded off a little bit. I think they won yesterday. Going to be a difficult game, so hopefully they make Brisbane Road as busy and as noisy as possible, because I think we're going to need the crowd behind us for that one especially.
Yeah, definitely. Unless results in the meantime don't pick up, it could be quite an important spell around that time, because obviously you've got another international break coming up around then as well, so you need to pick up the points before something else changes.
Absolutely.
So Mark Kleinman, also on Friday from Sky News, announced that the O's have become the latest English Football League side to have hired bankers to find new investors.
Yeah, we'll kind of put that a bit more on in the podcast around Nigel's interview that he's done with the club. So Saturday, 12th of October, the O's weren't in action, and although there were 2 fixtures played in League One, so I think Peterborough against Rotherham was still played, and you think they're kind of 2 of the bigger clubs in League One. Game went ahead. Didn't affect the O's though. We weren't affected in any of the results in the league table, which meant we remained in 19th place in the League One table.
I think a lot of it comes down to the club as to whether they want to postpone it due to the international call-ups. You don't need to. I don't know how much of a say the away team have. So in this case, we were the home team against Huddersfield. Could we not have said, no, we want to play it. We need to bounce back. I suppose it all depends on who you lose.
Yeah, of course.
But if you're losing Ethan Galbraith and a couple of others of that, Ollie O'Neill, of that standard, yes, I suppose you would want to. But then from their perspective, yes, Ethan was injured anyway, but what's the point in going to the back end of nowhere to just go and sit on a bench? Is that really of any benefit to him as a player? Possibly not.
I guess as a player though, he'll always want to go and travel with his international teammates. So if you say to him, Ethan, look, you can play a League One game at home to Huddersfield, or you can go away with your international and play away to Bulgaria, I think it was, or Belarus. The player's always going to pick the international duty.
Yeah,
every day of the week.
I just want to go football on a Saturday and not have to look at other fixtures and go, oh, where can I go?
Fair.
Sunday the 13th of October, the O's women's team played a 3rd round FA Cup tie away at Hutton, who are a Tier 6 team and look like the best side in their league, which meant the O's were expecting a little bit of a more difficult encounter, and so it proved to be. However, the O's women gave as good as they got, except in front of goal, which sounds like the men's team a little bit.
Yeah.
So it must be something going on in the water down there. The ladies appeared to suffer a similar malaise as the men's side. Good possession, good football, but hardly any goal chances. Hutton took the odd chance and run out 3-1 winners. The Orient goal came from a penalty, and it's the only goal that they've scored since the season began. So hopefully their luck can change as soon as possible as well.
It does. Obviously, that was last Sunday. We'll come on to today's match for the women. Thanks to LFC Women for sending over their report in that game. So Monday the 14th of October, we waited in front of our TV screens with bated breath as we watched the first round draw for the FA Cup. We were ball number 27 and we were drawn away to Boreham Wood just when we thought we never had to go to Boreham Wood ever again after a few years of not having to go there. We've got the ties to be played on the weekend, the 2nd of November. And obviously we'll speak about Boreham Wood a bit later on in the pod.
Yeah, it weren't the draw that I was hoping for, I'll be honest. But it's a beatable team.
Of course.
That evening, shortly after the draw, Richie Wellens was in the Supporters Club for their Meet the Manager event.
He certainly was. Well done to everyone involved in that one. Tuesday the 15th of October, O's chairman Nigel Travis, he did a 10-minute interview with the club's media. That's available on the social media channels. He spoke about the current investment plans and future at Leyton. I thought that's quite an insightful interview from Nigel and the club. Well worth a watch if you get the chance. Speaks about kind of investing the stadium. I think every time Nigel does a club video, he's in somewhere different in the world. I think this time he was in Finland or somewhere. He was somewhere where you wouldn't associate Nigel Travis to be.
Yeah, didn't you say you'd just been to watch the England
that was it. He went
well,
to Finland.
and you think...
Yeah, but well done to club for putting it out. I think it's always good that how transparent the board are with us, and good to hear his views and to get a bit of kind of context around what the club are looking to do. So well done to everyone involved in that one.
Yeah, I think whether you agree with what they want to do with the investment, I think they justify it quite well.
Yeah.
They put across why they want to do it, and you can go and go, okay, yeah, I might not agree with it, but I understand the process. And the fact that Nigel can and some of the others are so open with that, it gives us the opportunity to go, fair play, we look like you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed that it all works out and we can pump some more money in and get further up that league table in seasons to come. So Wednesday 16th of October, absolutely nothing to report. A nice quiet day at the club.
Yeah, Thursday the 17th of October, double birthday celebration for two O's legends with Kevin Lisby and Matt Lockwood both celebrating their big days. Happy birthday, gents. For any kind of new-ish listeners to the pod, we spoke to Lockwood. Lockie was one of our first ever interviews at Paul's house and on Outlook Podcast Towers, and me and Paul kind of sat there in awe of him many moons ago. That must be coming up to like 10 years ago since we spoke to him. That great interview. We also spoke to Lisby not long after he'd left the club in a two-parter, which was really good. So anyone who's new to the pod and hasn't gone back, go through and scroll down to kind of the early episodes and you'll find those two interviews well worth listening to, but well deserved. Happy birthday to both of those legends who still are thought of in such high regard at the club.
Yeah, definitely always welcome back whenever they want to, those two. The club also confirmed that Rion Smith-Kouassi has joined Grays Athletic on a 2-month loan deal. So another young player going out on loan, getting first team experience. So good luck to Rion. Absolutely.
Bob Wooden even confirmed, kind of buried it in their ticketing details, that our forthcoming Emirates FA Cup first round game against them would now be played, not on the Saturday, but on Sunday the 3rd of November. This one's kicking off at 2 o'clock. That was confirmed. I think the Orient media confirmed it shortly after. But yeah, Sunday the 3rd of November. This one kicks off at 2 o'clock. So if you happen to be abroad and are following like the FA channels somewhere, as you would, you might be able to watch this live at some point. But yeah, 2 o'clock, Sunday 3rd of November, up the O's.
Yep, on Friday the 18th of October, the under-18s were drawn at home to Aldershot in the first round of the 24-25 season FA Youth Cup, with full details of the fixture, including date and kick-off time, be announced in due course. Normally they're played at the ground, aren't they? So hopefully they can get a few people in and watch the next generation put one over Aldershot.
Hopefully. I think last year, we ended up going out to Newcastle. I think we played Newcastle in the end and lost, but good experience for the youth team behind the third round. So yeah, hopefully they do well again and progress as far as they can do. On Saturday, the 19th of October, the Young O's were in league action. They were at home to Gillingham and were reduced to 10 men after just 4 minutes as keeper Freddie Norman was shown a straight red card, and then Ethan Pike had to come on to replace Zach Hanbury with the O's down to 10 men. Gillingham took the lead in the 16th minute, made it 2-0 in the 42nd minute, which is how the first half ended, and the visitors made it 3-0 in the 67th minute, which is how the game finished. So unlucky to the Young O's, who had made an amazing start to this season, but 10 men, strong team against Gillingham, wasn't meant to be. So hopefully they can get back on track next weekend.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And on to the main event, which was up the M1 to Northampton Town away. So before the game, Paul and Steve ran their Twitter poll to find out how you thought the O's would get on in this one. And after 247 votes, you voted 18% thought we would lose the game, 27% thought we would draw, and 55% of you thought we would win. So as always, thank you for your votes. Look out for that on a Friday before the game.
Yeah, Thursday, 6 o'clock. Paul is meticulous with it. Always goes out on the Thursday at 6, as it should do. But yeah, you see a confident fan base. I think the last Twitter poll we ran had us down to lose. Mine it was to win. But this time, O's fans were very optimistic in their predictions. But were they right, were they wrong? Let's find out. The team was announced at 2 o'clock with Keeley in goal, with Tom Jones, Omar Beckles, Dan Happy and Jack Curry at the back, with Don Ball, Jordan Brown, Ethan Galbraith making up the midfield, with Ollie O'Neill, Dan Adjie and Charlie Kelman finishing off the 11. On the bench, we had Phillips, Simpson, Prattley, Obiere, Donnelly, Graham and Sonny Perkins.
Yep, that meant 4 changes to the O's since our last league game. The big one, I suppose, was Josh Keeley coming in to replace Zach Kemin. Dan Happy returning to the team following his layoff from concussion, alongside Jordan Brown and Ethan Galbraith, all returning to the starting lineup.
So I guess when that team was announced at 2 o'clock, we try and kind of make these comments as soon as the team was announced. First up, the keeper situation. Hemmings not in the squad. Obviously, with 6 loan signings, only 5 being able to make a match day squad, Hemmings finds himself completely out. So massive opportunity for Keeley. Obviously, at this point, Claire is gone. Wasn't in the squad. Surprising. Brandon Cooper, not in the squad. Surprising. Good to see Dan Happy come back though after his concussion. And good to see Ethan Galbraith back after he missed the Lincoln game and missed the internationals at the break. Only other thing from me, Jordan Graham obviously suffered a horrific injury. It's been kind of making substitute appearances now for quite a long time. Got 75 minutes against Southend 10 days ago. For me, I would have liked to see Jordan Graham start. I think Jordan Graham really could have given the Northampton defence some really big problems early on. Yeah. I would have liked to see Graham start this one. I must admit.
Hopefully, it's just caution rather than anything else to worry about. But yeah, I was the same sort of questions of why the change in goalkeeper. Sean Clary's been fantastic since he's moved into midfield. Mind you, he wasn't bad at right back either. Brandon Cooper not in the side either. So there's questions, as I suppose there is with every lineup that's going to happen. But it'd be interesting to know if Richie does a lineup based on who's trained well, based on, obviously it's down to player fitness, but are the changes due to who we're going to be playing against? Because I'd have thought Brandon Cooper would have been perfect for this game against a big, horrible, physical Northampton team, where he is a similar sort of player. So, yeah, interesting. But as it plays out, we find out why players have been dropped, put in.
Yeah, well, I don't believe the Cooper question was asked. That's a good point. Now, I think we mentioned it on the podcast 2 weeks ago. Should you just not play your strongest team, go with your strongest tactics, regardless of who you're playing for the last couple of times this season? We had a lot of views actually when that team was announced. Huxley Thomas said Herring missing is a weird one. Shane Clare isn't around, but still confident. Let's do this.
Yeah, James O'Hagan said strong looking lineup, bench not so much, but still some lads who can do a job there. Time for Keeley to make his point.
Bazar 73 said I keep tinkering with defensive players when the problem is that we are not scoring enough goals, but have to stick with the same players as we have no decent alternatives.
I suppose tinkering with the defensive players and them still not really having too much of an issue is a positive sign. Be nice if we could tinker with the forwards and get them to score a few goals, but that's another story for another time. At Aussie LOFC, I don't like my opinion, but this is a 6-pointer. We cannot waste any chances today. Hopefully the break has served us well.
Yeah, it did feel like a 6 points. I think we were saying that, and we got the chance to go on a Northampton podcast that we couldn't do with the guys from the Cobblers podcast, and saying to them it does feel like a bit of a 6 pointer already at this point in the season, and they were in full kind of agreement from there, and it felt like a big game for Northampton Town as well after they lost their last 3 games as well. And _Collie made a good point, I feel. So screams of a management who still don't know their best 11 or formations, so just names in a hat on a Friday. I mean, I don't think it goes as far as names in a hat on a Friday, but I do feel, and we've spoken about it, when you play Kelman at a 9, you kind of have a problem with Adji, because Adji, although he can play on the left or the right, I think from seeing him last season and this season from what I've seen, he's most effective for me as a 9. But Kelman obviously can't play as a 7 or an 11 on the right or the left, so Kelman has to be the 9 if you're going to play him. And we know Richie loves him through his work rate and how hard he works for the team, but if he's not scoring goals or getting chances, then surely at some point you have to go, Charlie Kelman, are you earning your place? But don't get me wrong, Kelman started the season, he was superb, great pre-season, scored a great goal against Bolton, has done well this season, but it does feel like Kelman in the last, 4 to 5 games, I would say. Scored the winning penalty against Southend, but I think other than that, in the last 4 or 5, hasn't done much, but is consistently the number 9, which means that Adji is almost on the right and the left. Possibly time to give Kelman a break from the lineup, see what he's like on the bench, and put Adji down as the 9.
Yeah, I think Kelman could be quite interesting coming on in the last sort of 15-20 minutes with tiring defensive legs. He might be able to run at them, be a bit more physical and do a job that way. But
well, he done it when we won the league. When we won the league that season, and although he started a lot of games, there was a lot of games where he came on off the bench and had a similar impact. But at the moment, Richie seems to be fully sticking with Charlie Kelman. I think Kelman and Adji have got the same amount of goals this season. I think they're both stuck on 4 now this season. And when you think that Adji's played mostly on the wing and Kelman's played mostly in the middle in that 9 and had more football, he's definitely played more football than what Adji has. Is there a case to say, all right, Adji, you're the 9 for today, but you have to take your chance. Although bearing in mind the game we're going to come on to, Adji missed the sitter.
Yeah, which I also wouldn't be against Jamie Donnelly starting up front, because that's where we signed him to play. So, play him there.
Fair point.
Ideally. But back to your views. At Len Chin Chin 1, our starting 11 is good versus Northampton. Just one place between us and another chance to win. We'll need an early goal and an astute plan. Richie Wellens is sure to have it in place. A good defence is paramount with marking of their dangerous midfielders. Come on, Orient, let's get 3 points.
So you were there, you was in the away end. What did it feel like pre-kick-off? Because normally we go to Northampton, a lot of noise, decent atmosphere. I quite like it, the away end. It's quite an old school ground, quite an old school away terrace, I think it's fair to say. Good feeling in the away stand?
From who I spoke to, there seemed to be a little bit of trepidation.
Okay.
Possibly because of recent results and the week off. But you all go there to support your team.
Of course.
And when the players are out warming up and coming out to the start, there was lots of noise. So we were fully prepared to get behind the team. And yeah, I think as soon as the game starts, you kind of switch your views to we're going to do this now. Come on, let's go. And yeah, as you say, it's a nice away end.
Yeah.
There's a lot worse out there. You're quite close to the pitch, really sort of hemmed in as well. So the noise can be there. Yeah, I think we were hopeful that we were going to get the 3 points, as we should have.
55% of the Twitter voters thought we would get it. So the match kicked off with the O's looking to get their season back on track against our host Northampton Town, who had lost their last 3 league games and who we also sat above in the league table by 1 place and just on goal difference. In the 5th minute, a nice move from the O's saw the ball played into the box from the left by O'Neill. He drilled in a low cross which deflected into the hands of Burge in the Northampton goal.
Yep, a massive chance in the 9th minute though, as Ethan Galbraith fed the path into Dan Adji in the penalty area. He rounded Burge but at a tight angle, and with the goal at his mercy, he fired well wide of the near post, which is a massive shame.
I think he done the hard. I think first of all, Galbraith runs forward, plays a lovely little through pass, like beautiful pass.
Yep.
Adji does the hard part. I guess this is what's frustrating. He done the hard part. Could have shot first time, and you couldn't have blamed it if he'd done. But for really beautifully controlled first touch from Adji, to be fair to Dan.
Yeah.
Takes Burge out of the game. He's done the hard part, and then I guess Adji's defence will be I'm slightly off balance, which he looks slightly off balance, but even so, an absolute gilt-edged chance in the 9th minute. Looked bad on TV. I presume it looked even worse when you're there standing in front of it, but he should have scored from. He has to do better there, Dan. Yeah,
I think everyone was sort of halfway out of their seat or half jumping up in the air to celebrate that, and like the sigh of despair after it. You know, not another opportunity that could have gone in, that could have put us 1-0 up, squandered.
Yeah.
Hey ho, we'll get other chances. We hoped.
Big chance squandered. 12th minute, Ethan Galbraith picked up a booking.
Yeah, slightly unnecessary, kicking the ball away.
Oh, is that what it's for?
But the referee wasn't consistent in that. It wasn't a kick away as in what you used to see of, I'm just going to smack it into the crowd or wherever. It was a slight tap away, and the referee was just really trigger happy with his card at that point. But it's in the rules, don't do it.
Yeah, don't blame him.
28th minute, Jack Curry found some space on the left following a nice ball from Jordan Brown, and his cross-come shot was touched over by Burge for a corner, which unfortunately came to nothing. Yeah,
a bit of a strange touch there from Jack, but definitely gave Burge something to think about as he tipped it over. 34th minute, a long throw by Tom James eventually saw the ball come back to him on the right. He floated across into the area, met at the back post by Omar Beckles, who headed it down. The ball seemed to pick up pace as he'd headed it down. Burge had to get down well and low to make the save. The ball came to Dan Adji, who kind of ran onto it, and you're thinking, just drill it in. He reacted quickest. His goal-bound rebound was definitely going in, was blocked on the way by a defender, and in the next passage of play, Ellie O'Neill had a shot easily saved by Burge. Again, luck got on our side with that one. decent save by Burge from the header, although I guess you'd expect that header from Beckles to be saved. But when Adji's running onto that ball, you think Adji last season just would have side-footed it and just smashed it into the top corner of the net.
Yeah, it's another one of those that you should score. And I think Richie touched on it, that we had sort of 2 or 3 really good opportunities in the first half. And if you go in 3-0 up, Northampton aren't going to come back in it. They're going to be even more deflated, and you could end up going 4, 5, 6. Because we had them on the ropes to a degree, but letting them back in or not taking your chances is going to, as soon as they score, then you're really up against it.
Speak about it each week though, don't we? Clinical both boxes, right? So you've got to take your chances and you've got to defend well. I think it's another case, an example of we haven't done that in both halves yet again.
No, and thankfully Richie knows it, that it's happened. So let's hope a couple of days on the training ground we can work on those little the 6-yard area. That's literally all it is. Getting balls in and getting tap-ins. But 35th minute, Dan Adji was booked for a foul on Guinness Walker on the O's right-hand side, and the free kick was well headed over by Tom Eves.
I like Tom Eves, I must say. I was surprised when Northampton signed him. A lump who get goals on League One level. Yeah, absolutely. 39th minute, cross from Jack Curry was played to the back post. Adji got ahead of his man, Guinness Walker again, but his header well over the bar.
Yep. 6 additional minutes were played in the first half. Nothing else to report, and the team's winning goalless at the break.
Certainly did. Attendance announced at 7,015 with 841 O's fans making the journey. So well done to all those O's fans who made the journey. Second half kicked off with no subs for the O's.
No. I mean, just touching on the attendance, the Northampton PA guy did not mention the away fans. Whereas it's something that we always do. Huh? We always say, and well done to the 27 who followed them down from Barrow or wherever. And I just think it adds that extra little bit of sort of thanks for coming.
Yeah,
thanks for spending your afternoons with us, putting money in our coffers with tea, coffee, beer, chocolate, burgers. Just a little thing. In the 48th minute, so just after the half, they come back out for the second half. Northampton took the lead as a long throw was delivered into the Orient box. Baldwin flicked it on, and the oncoming Cameron McGeehan was there to finish past Keeley from close range to make it 1-0.
Speaking about being clinical both boxes, right? I mean, you won't see a more basic goal on any football TV show.
Nope.
This weekend, throw into the box, the big old lump wins his flick on. Midfielder runs in completely unchallenged from 2 yards out. Scores a goal, no chance for Keeley to do anything, but such a disappointing goal. No one tracking McGee, no one gets close to Baldwin who flicks his header on. I mean, Richie must be pulling his hair out. Players, you can tell, look so gutted when that goal goes in. But again, I think from an Orient fan's perspective, no one's surprised by that goal. It's just basic defending, and it hasn't been happening all season. It's really disappointing to see that hit the back of it. And so early in the second half as well. It happened against Lincoln straight after the half-time talk, where they've come out, conceded a goal straight after. I'm sure it's happened more times this season, and you're thinking, what is going on in the half-time team talk, where we come out and just don't concentrate and lose our focus in that one key moment, and that one key moment is the moment in the game that defines the result.
Yeah, it was enough to change the game to a degree, because we're now then chasing the game.
Of course.
But it was avoidable.
Completely.
Massively avoidable if... And I'm not putting the blame on any singular player here, but if you've got 2 big defenders up, Beckles and Happier, who are so confident in the air, you would expect them to be challenging for that and not letting it come through to the back post where McGeehan was unmarked. But yeah, it was one of those goals that you look back on and you think, it's so avoidable.
Of course.
And it's not an individual mistake as such either, which is a positive, I suppose, when you look at the start of the season we had.
No, I mean, you don't... Richie Reynolds doesn't need to sit in front of the TV and go, right, how do I avoid that goal? That is literally the most basic goal to avoid. If he's going to sit there tomorrow with the defensive players and go, okay, how do you avoid that? And it's just a waste of time, right? Because literally, I can explain how you avoid that goal. You win your first header, and you track your man from midfield who's running into the box.
Yeah.
Doesn't need 4-hour kind of analysis on that. It just needs, I guess, all the outfield players for Orient to be more aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
So we don't concede silly goals like that, surely.
Yeah, and I think it put a pin in the confidence of definitely the fans. As everyone was sort of like again, really. I nearly said something I shouldn't have done. But yeah, it must knock the confidence of the players as well. It's the same thing every week.
No doubt.
But enough wallowing in our own self-pity. 10 minutes later, Tom James was booked for bringing down Sam Hoskins, which was a challenge that was a good enough challenge because Sam Hoskins is quick. He's a good player.
He is a good player at this level.
And it's one of those that Richie was moaning about the other week where players not thinking smart in the game and taking out the player that's going to run through and possibly cause us trouble.
Yeah, agree. 61st minute, double sub for the O's. Tom James was brought off and Jordan Brown, they both came off as well. Jack Simpson came on, as well as Jamie Donnelly. And a minute later, Jordan Graham came on in the place of Ollie O'Neill. Again, I think Ollie O'Neill's been spoken about before on the pod this season. There's a few tweets about him, but again, fairly ineffective. I'd say disappointing start to the season from Ollie O'Neill. Had such high hopes from this season.
Possibly because he hit the ground running so well. Last season, he's almost set the expectation a little bit too high. Whereas if you look at Ethan Galbraith, he came in slowly and then has built up. So we all saw he was a good player, but we didn't have that massive expectation that Ollie's got because he came in and scored 150 goals in his first 3 games or something ridiculous. But in the 73rd minute, another sub for the O's as Zek Obiero came on for Don Ball. And in the 81st minute, Darren Prattley came on for Dan Happy.
I know we don't kind of talk about every situation on the pitch, but I think the most disappointing thing for me is we went behind in the 48th minute and Burge hasn't had to make a save at all. Or we've had a kind of attack of note. We're literally saying that's 30 seconds since the goal, and when we've spoken about subs that have been made because there's nothing else to report on. The game is just floating by and going, right? Nothing is happening. We're not missing out chances because we don't want to talk. There's nothing, literally to talk about, in this space.
I think if you exclude Dan Adji where he rounded Burge in the first half, the only save that he really had to make was from Ollie O'Neill's effort that was from 20, 25 yards out, which I think says a lot about where we are at the moment. Personally, I would take a few more pot shots at goal from 20 yards out and see where they go. But for one, I can't remember Josh Keeley having to make a save either.
We haven't spoken about Josh making a save apart from picking the ball out of his net where
he couldn't have got anywhere near it anyway. But yeah, for one inverted commas save to be made in 90 minutes, I think shows the quality of where both teams are at, really. Northampton should be better than what they are at the moment.
Yeah, we could say our argument for us would be vice versa.
Yeah.
Right. So, 6 minutes of additional time played. In the 93rd minute, an O's free kick was played forward and Omar Beckles got shot away well wide from outside the area. And with no further action to talk about, the referee blew the full-time whistle as the O's fell to another defeat, with Northampton Town taking all 3 points to leap above us in the league table. Richie Wellens' interview is on the club's social media channels. Thanks to Dave Victor for sending it our way. We're not going to play it. Richie pretty much gave a similar interview to what he's given most of the season, where he kind of bemoans the players for not doing what they've been told, and again, a lapse in concentration. So that defeat means we slip down a place. We're now 20th in League One, 1 place outside the relegation places. I think it's important to note. We've played 11, won 2, drawn 2, lost 7, 8 points, a goal difference of -5, which given our placing isn't so bad, I think. However, it's never too positive to be kind of in 20th in your relevant league. I'll let you lead with your views because you were there. Mr. Cain, myself, Stan Chum.
I think just touching on the goal difference thing, I think we finished last season with a goal difference something like -3, -4.
Yeah, because we were on every week it was almost back to 0 and never quite got there.
And considering we got absolutely tonked in 4 or 5 games at the start of last season, and as you say, the only game that we've been really conceding goals is Shrewsbury away. I don't know if that's necessarily a positive or negative. I suppose it showed that we scored a few more last year.
True.
But yeah, it's not a disastrous. It could almost be an extra point in the sense that you expect the teams in the relegation zone to have goal difference of minus double figures.
Yeah.
If you look at most other leagues, they're on sort of minus 10, minus 11. So if we're going to be down there, I suppose the best thing we can do is try and keep that as minimal as possible, which I say we're not making too many defensive mistakes. We just can't score. So, yeah, my views on yesterday, a fairly decent first half. We moved the ball around well, get into good positions. Ethan Galbraith was by far and away our best player. He was creative, he was running, he wanted the ball. And we definitely squandered a good couple of chances, which we've already touched on. Second half was, to put it politely, fairly abysmal. We had no energy, we had no desire to really go forward. The ball was being passed sideways and backwards and every other way other than going forwards. If Omar, I think it was the only shot in the second half, if he'd have scored that, I think that would have been really, really harsh on Northampton. Because not that they necessarily played well, because I don't think either team particularly set the game alight, but they didn't do enough to warrant losing their lead either. We weren't good enough. I suppose you can look at the fact that Keeley's confident in goal.
Yeah.
Every time the ball came to him, he would take a touch, look at where he could play it. He wasn't bothered by Tom Eaves running towards him.
Good son.
Which Tom Eaves is a bit of a unit.
Yeah.
If he's running towards me, I'd run a mile backwards. So yeah, that's positive. Galbraith wanting the ball, but there's nothing really to shout and holler about, as we'll probably find out in the tweets afterwards. But yeah, how did you think it went?
I wasn't there, so obviously I think your opinion is much more important than mine in this one. But another poor result, right? So you take away all the possession stats, all the shots on target stats or shots off target, and I think you're just left with one key stat that Northampton won the game. Similar performance to what we've spoken about all season. Lincoln battered them in the first half, didn't get a goal, conceded straight away in the second half. Northampton's exactly the same. I was quite surprised actually when I watched the highlights this morning to see kind of how much we kind of battered them for what it looked like in the first half. Like every kind of time we attacked them, they looked petrified. Adji should score, especially when he rounds the keeper, and if he scores in the 9th minute, I think the game completely goes a different way.
Yeah.
But he doesn't, and after 367 episodes, I don't know how many times that we can say you have to be clinical in both boxes, but frustrating. I mean, I don't know what's going on up front. Adji looks like a shadow of the player he was last season. Kelman, like we said earlier in the pod, from looking really, really sharp against the season, isn't really getting involved in goal scoring situations. I don't think he had a goal scoring opportunity yesterday, which is disappointing. Ollie O'Neill looks like he isn't ready for the start of the season. Jordan Graham's been kind of floating around the outskirts of the squad for the last month and a half, but still isn't ready to start or isn't being trusted enough to start. DJ doesn't look like he can get near the squad, and when he has, it looks poor, to be fair. Perkins has looked poor. I mean, brings on Darren Prattley instead of Sonny Perkins with 9 minutes left. That's all you need to know in terms of where is Sonny Perkins down the pecking order. And he's our first choice attacking sub. So, I don't have the answers, but something needs to change with our attackers in terms of if it's Adji down the middle, if it's Graham on the right, or if it's a 2 up front and you have to change the formation to get it forward. If you're Rishi though, you're probably sitting here listening to this going, well, you're talking crazy because we battered him for possession in the first half, and if my forward could score a goal after 9 minutes, it's a completely different story. So I think, we have to take it with a pinch of salt. But second half, like we said, we've run through that second half in about 2 seconds. And apart from Omar Becker was having a shot that was never troubling Burge, doesn't sound like we've literally done anything. And that's the most disappointing fact for me. And it's happened a lot this season where we go a goal down and there's no ideas, there's no movement. The subs being made that don't make sense. The subs who come on don't really have an impact in the game, and then after the game Richie will come out and say something that you can't quite comprehend, like, oh, we played really well, or the players won't listen to what I was saying. Well, you're like, well, you're the manager. Like, that's your job to make sure they do listen to what you're saying and to take account and to take responsibility for it. So it's tough. Like, I don't think you won't find many Orient fans who don't love Super Richie Wellens, but at the moment there's something not quite right in his methods or in his lineups or in his pre-match talks to the squad or in his post-match interviews with Dave Victor. Things just aren't quite clicking or adding up, and I'm definitely not sitting here tonight going Richie Wellens out, because Richie Wellens deserves more time, and he'll get more time with this board. This board aren't going to react to a defeat in Northampton, but I do think he's got 2 big league games now, and he's got a potential banana skin coming up, and I think if he was to lose the next 3 games, I think the tide of support is already slowly starting to turn a little bit, and not just against Richie, against the board.
Yeah.
As well, I think it could become a very toxic situation very quickly. But at the same time, those players have got to do more on the pitch, whether it's your central midfielders tracking a McGeehan who isn't running back. If it's your defence not getting close enough to a Jack Baldwin, it's all basic defensive. We're not talking about a player who's kind of shown us up and run rings around us and is a million times better. We're talking about a Jack Baldwin and a Cameron McGeehan, who are League One players. They're not going to go any further than what they already have done in their careers. No offence to those players, I'm sure don't give a toss and aren't listening to this, but just frustrating. Like, at half time at 0-0, you just thought Northampton are going to nick a goal here and we're not going to be able to do anything, and that's exactly what happened. And I think Richie's tried to motivate the squad in his post-match interviews by saying, look, when you come on as a squad, these shirts are up for grabs, and not one of these players is taking like the ball by the horns, and you think, right, he has to start the next game. And apart from Ethan Galbraith and Jack Curry,
yeah,
I would say literally at the moment there are 9 Orient shirts up for grabs, because the keeper seems to be interchanging. Like, it was Hemming. When he should have dropped Hemming, he didn't. When Hemming hasn't trained well or not played well against Lincoln, which I think is neither, you can blame him for that. He's changed keeper, so the keeper's position is up for grabs. Tom James, literally 1 week is your right back, and the next week isn't even in your squad. The centre backs keep changing between Happy, Beckles, Simpson, and Cooper, although injuries are kind of dictating that. I think Curry is now down his left back place, and I think we're all quite happy with Jack Curry. And I think we'd all quite like Jack Curry. Just already, there's enough about Jack Curry for me and you to go, we'd quite like him to kind of sign permanently. Galbraith is Galbraith. Jordan Brown, from being really solid, hasn't been the Jordan Brown, I think, so far, who we've known this season. And I think McGeehan may have been his man. I think, bearing in mind that your centre-backs were trying to, when they flick on, it's left a gap for someone. Sean Clare's been great, but obviously Sean Clare ain't playing for the next 2 to 3 months, which is a massive, massive blow. And like we've said, do you persevere with Kelman down the middle? Does Ollie O'Neill deserve to be dropped? Does Dan Adjie deserve a chance at 9? Should Jordan Graham come in? If you got Perkins and DJ, what do you do with them? Like, literally, do you try and get them in? I don't know. Loads of questions. Lewis Warrington came from Everton.
Where's he?
Everyone raved about him. Jamie Donnelly. Spurs fans could not believe we got Jamie Donnelly.
Yeah.
When we got him, every Spurs fan I spoke to was like, "You've got Jamie Donnelly. How? Should be in the Championship." Jamie Donnelly
has done nothing of note.
Nothing of note, Jamie Donnelly. And whether Jamie Donnelly is being played out of position or whatever in his defence, I don't know. I don't know if it's about Jamie Donnelly. But Jamie Donnelly came to Leyton Orient, and everyone was like, "Wow, he's going to set the world alight." I don't think he's made 1 assist. He definitely hasn't done anything where I can pinpoint him to go, he had an amazing game in that game.
No.
So, some big choices. He's got the squad. The squad is 18%, I think, over its wage budget. I think Marshall said when he came on last week. So, there must be talent. There's obviously lots of players there. There's talent there. There's enough for Richie to be selecting his team, who go out and represent him, whether or not they're his signings. And again, Marshall said on the podcast 2 weeks ago that he identifies the players, and then Ling will go out and get those players. Like, they're players who fit into his system, but as it stands, it just seems like a bit of a mess, and it's the same patterns recur on themselves next week.
Yeah.
Or week after, which should I say, sorry.
Yeah. Let's hope that we can go to play Rotherham on Tuesday and knock them out of the park, and we'd all be happy again. But I can't see it.
No,
I can see a number of changes where Richie's clearly not happy with the players. But, and I don't know if I've ever said this out loud, but I think there's certain players that have been made scapegoats. You mentioned one of them. I'm not going to mention him.
Cooper, was it Cooper?
No, Tom James.
Okay.
There we go, I've mentioned him. That, as you say, is the best right back in the world 1 week, doesn't play so well the following week, next week he's nowhere to be seen. And yeah, Cooper's completely gone missing. Where's he gone?
Yeah, it's hard. I think there was a tweet, wasn't there, saying he doesn't know his best 11, which may or may not be the case. But I know injuries play their part, suspensions play their part, but at the moment, the team that he's putting out, which has been pretty consistent, I'd say, for the most part, that's a pretty consistent team. Especially up front, because it's O'Neill, Aji and Kelman.
Yeah.
And they're just not scoring. Like, again, the defence aren't conceding many, but when you don't score, when you're consistently scoring 0, if you concede 1 or 2, you lose the game.
Yeah.
And like you said, apart from Shrewsbury, which nobody saw coming, and to be fair, one of them was an absolute worldie at 1-0 where the guys popped one in from 40 yards. We haven't been battered in any game, but we just don't score enough. Like, at all.
We had the Stockport game.
Apart from the Stockport game.
Where we beat them 4-1. But other than that, it's been a goal, 2 at most, if we're lucky.
And Stockport was only, 4 weeks ago? It was 4 weeks ago, and we were sitting there like going, this is the start. So a lot can change in 4 weeks, and in 4 weeks we might be sitting there going, can't believe what I was saying with Chris 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Now we've gone on this 5-winning game run and scored 10 goals again. But you just never know, and football fans are fickle, and on the pod, because it's a weekly pod, we can only react
to what has just happened.
So I think some pretty impassioned, but honest, and from the heart views there. And I think, there's no I'd like to see us go home to Rotherham and smash them on Tuesday, and then smash Wickham on Saturday, and then absolutely annihilate Bournemouth on Saturday. But I think at the moment, most fans will be going into those games with a bit of trepidation.
Yeah.
I think it has to be said.
No, I think Tuesday night the atmosphere will be fairly on edge.
I guess one of the teams who although they've not really performed well, I thought Rotherham
would be up there.
I still think they will come good and be around the playoffs somewhere, because, like Richie said, the cream will always rise to the top, and I think they've got enough about and Rotherham that when they do start clicking at some point,
it will.
They will go up,
Yeah.
find themselves going up with the league table.
Yeah, but then as someone around me said on Saturday, you can't shout if you've got nothing to shout about.
Oh, okay.
Which is a fairly good observation. If there's nothing really exciting you, then you're not going to get excited to reciprocate it. And yeah, I think Tuesday could be a bit edgy. If we score, the atmosphere will change.
Yeah, it works both ways, right? So I know Rishi is kind of alluded to being a bit quiet on Tuesday nights, and attendance not being great, but like you said, if you're sitting there after half hour and there's no shots on target and you're just passing the ball back and sideways and back and sideways, you're not going to have the crowd singing for you for half an hour, because that's just not what happens.
And any individual mistake that someone might make, whether it be in your own penalty box or down the other end, when you're the goal that you're attacking, it will be met with and negativity, and
of course,
then that gets onto the pitch as well. So it's a vicious circle of, if you've got nothing to cheer about, you're not going to cheer, but the players need you to cheer to bring them up confidence wise. So let's see what happens. So those were our views. We had plenty of views, as you can imagine. It wasn't a happy fan base at full time. These are all tweets that came into us at Orient Outlook. MS Orient was first on the ball. He said, awful summer recruitment, abysmal leadership all over the playing field, get them all in headlocks and throw away the key. Toothless in attack and gutless at the back. I like what you've done there, Mark. I know exactly what you've done there with that Richie Wellens song. Spineless footballers, a lot of them. Relegation fodder, this squad. We are in trouble. Dirk Turk has said, beginning of the season, we were playing well and being unlucky against the bigger sides. Now the performances are slowly getting worse, and we are getting beat each week.
That is a great point. When we were losing by the odd goal, home to Birmingham City, home to Bolton, and the odd keeper mistake was kind of defining the result. You're like, oh, actually, we played all right. We'll be all right when we get to the Shrewsbury's and the Northampton and the Lincolns. And you're right.
Maybe
the
not.
Performance is becoming slightly worse. Yeah, Sunshine, LOFC said absolutely awful in the second half against Northampton Town side, who offered little. We were wasteful in front of goal in the first half and defended awfully for their goal. Things need to change and quick before we get dragged into a relegation dogfight. There's a lot of use of the R word already, and I don't like it.
No, I don't know if that's realism or the fact that we are down there. It's hard to get away from.
Yeah, of course.
At Charlie Galvin said, didn't take our chances in the first half, created absolutely nothing in the second. Seemed to be a gaping hole in the middle of our midfield after Brown came off. Subs didn't add anything. Hard to take any positives from that. Let's hope we can bounce back on Tuesday.
Good tweet there from Charlie. David CS3 said, disgusting. Feel sorry for Galbraith if we have the option next year. He's going to be playing in League 2. Can't defend, can't score, no fight, no desire. This team's getting worse by the week and headed in one direction, and that is downwards. Donnelly is woeful. I can't believe we've managed to get in one direction into this podcast. It was very apt. Well done there, David Sears.
I also think it's a little bit harsh calling Donnelly out.
I think it's
individually.
I think it's because of the expectation we had of him. So we were asked to do an overrated and underrated thing for Orient in the week for like a Twitter handle, and our overrated. Although we don't feel like anyone's overrated, we feel like Jamie Donnelly came with such high appraisal from Tottenham Hotspur, and we were all so excited. It's because so much was made of that loan signing, it hasn't delivered, was why I think we feel a bit disappointed so far.
No, I don't think he was the worst player on the pitch.
Yes,
and hopefully that's a general statement rather than just from Northampton. But
fair shout.
Alex RC_7 said, sadly, it's what happens when you don't spend any money. One thing I do blame Richie for is his constant obsession with Kelman, and he's now shown that he can't shoot.
Good point. I think we made that before. Does like Charlie Kelman. Doe Lewis said it's difficult to see beyond the bottom four. We are just awful. Whoever led the way for the summer recruitment should be ashamed.
At Gorillas 1985 said, clearly Perkins is not wanted. We need a goal and we bring on Pratley. Give others a chance up front or change the formation. 2 weeks off and we have one shot on target. We must win on Tuesday, or I think Richie will be under pressure from the board very, very soon.
Good tweet there from Lee. Yeah, as I say, be interesting to see what happens in January. Obviously, we've got 6 loan signings. You're going to have 5 in a match day squad. We've got 2 loan keepers.
Yeah.
And Perkins. Do you send one of those keepers back and Perkins back, and that frees up one more loan space? Because obviously, we are going to need, as it stands, new signings in January. So, yeah, good tweet. Jason Kilby 6. So, is there anyone left out there that has not accepted this will be a season-long struggle against relegation? Ollie hasn't turned up. Kelman instead of Adju down the middle wasn't working. Donnelly shocking. But most concerning was a total lack of fight after their goal went in. I think that's probably a valid point. Like we said, we haven't battered their goal. We haven't made them work. We haven't done anything since they scored. There's no response. There's nothing there.
No, that's the most worrying thing.
Yeah,
I think.
I'd agree.
At Orient Boy said, appalling performance, relegation candidates, substitutes awful. Real questions now for Richie about this squad, as vast majority are going backwards. And what on earth was the second half plan?
I mean, this episode could be like copy and paste from the comments we had like after Lincoln. CLE3__ says same old story. Show promise first half but can't score, and then rubbish second half, and we lose. No consistent goal scoring threat this season. Send back Perkins and Donkey and get someone in that doesn't lose the ball 95% of the time. We are in trouble.
Yeah, in fairness to Donnelly there, I think if you put Donnelly in your iPhone, it comes back as Donkey, which... yeah. At Dale_Hooper said, we've always been low scorers under Welland, but one shot in the second half is bad. I think that was Beckles in the 90 whatever minute. Front line is so much weaker than last season, and it's showing. I wonder if we're a squad in transition. A lot of big players from the promotion winning team now gone, and we're not clicking.
There's been a lot said about comparisons between last season and this season. So last season, Morel obviously gone to Bristol Rovers, not done much, I think it's fair to say, at Bristol Rovers. Shaq Ford Also Bristol Rovers.
Yeah, he's on loan there, isn't he?
Yeah, not done anything.
Nope.
Obviously, this season, Perkins and Coleman,
Yeah.
who've done significantly less at this point.
Yeah, I think you also had Theo at the start of last season, coming into February, March time before he got injured. So you knew he could score. Shaq was good for a goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ruel always seemed to miss the absolute sitters and then pop one in.
As he does, yeah.
Pop one in from the byline, and I think we're missing that ability just to go, I'm going to go for it here.
We're missing something. Definitely missing something. But the fact Perkins ain't getting on probably tells you, like Lee said in an earlier tweet, all you need to know. Orient Electric, second half was as bad as it's been this season. Never remotely looked like scoring against a side who conceded 10 in the last 3, putting Galbraith at fullback again when chasing is mental. Donnelly had an absolute mare. Where do we go from here? I think a good point. Northampton Town conceded 10 goals in their last 3 games, and we didn't work their keeper.
Yeah.
That's again another concerning, for me anyway, a concerning stat. Good stat though.
Yeah, it shows that they were potentially weak defensively.
Yeah, of course.
We didn't exploit that enough. At Charles's Techno said, absolutely pathetic performance against the poor Northampton Town. Too many players that are either not good enough or have insufficient desire to perform. When you concede every time the opposition has a shot on target, then there is largely only going to be one outcome. An utterly clueless performance.
Yeah, Ian Hutchison 08 said, ultimately, if you don't shoot, you don't score. Fantastic passing in the middle of the pitch, but you don't win games with that. Unfortunately, investing in the future may come back and haunt the board come the end of the season, as this league is unforgiving.
At Titanic_Cronus said, players continue to go backwards under Ritchie and there's no plan B. If we can't beat a Northampton side that had lost 3 in a row, conceding 10 prior today, who can we beat?
Good tweet. Joe Pavitt00 came at the podcast. Be interesting to see if this makes it into the podcast. Well, Joe, it does, my friend. Issue at the club starts at the top. Wellens performs back-to-back seasons and proves he can take the club forward, yet the board are unwilling to just give him a decent enough budget, sell the club. Very harsh there, Joe. I think, as I say, Marshall won last week. The budget went up 18%. Again, don't need me to say this. Go and give Marshall a tweet. I'm sure Marshall will be more than happy to meet you and go through budgets with you. A lot of criticism from the board. Joe isn't alone. I think it's a bit harsh to come at the board. Everyone will obviously have their own opinions on that. But yeah, a lot of criticism of the board for not backing Ritchie. And again, I don't think Nigel and the board have been particularly quiet on their stance on where football finances are going, which is only one way in an upwards direction. And when your capacity is only 9,200 and you're up against teams in the same league whose capacity is 25, 27, top teams, so I'm not saying every team has that capacity, you're always going to be at a disadvantage. But yeah, Northampton just use their budget better, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
McGeehan was great. I would have loved McGeehan at Orient when we, come the summer. Eves, I think, will kind of get them a few goals, and they got Hoskins.
Yeah.
So
I mean, how they've kept hold of Hoskins has blown me, and Tom Eves and a couple of the other players. They've brought in players that are oven ready, essentially, rather than ones that might.
Yeah, fair point.
Might make a difference.
There's always lots of questions about the budget, and I say we can only go on what we've been told as a pod. Marshall said the budget had gone up in terms of comparison against other clubs in League One. It'll be more than some other League One clubs. It'll be a lot less than some other League One. I think it kind of balances itself out. We are around the middle, although league position will tell you that budget hasn't been used wisely, considering we're 20th in the league as it stands.
Yeah, exactly that. At LOFC99 said, difference there is a manager for them who is a realist and gave them an aim to just stay up, and our manager who is delusional in thinking he can get in or around the playoffs with this squad. It showed in the second half with how much they wanted it more.
Yeah, interesting point. I don't think Ritchie any less for trying to get his kind of beliefs in the squad to be playoff contenders, but I think it's always concerning when the other team wants it more than you do. Good points there. Charlie_Paul said, worse than Shrewsbury, if that can be believed. Not capable of doing our basics right. Soft and easy to play against. Lack of grit, lack of desire. Budgets are irrelevant. If you don't do the basics right, you won't pick up enough points to survive. That is an absolutely great tweet.
I think, yeah.
Well
I think
done,
that's
Charlie.
the tweet of the one that we've read so far with a bit of everything. At Chat Leyton said, I don't understand the moans with Wellens. The chairman has let him down completely. A new manager will have the same squad and no money in January. If they want to let anyone go, it's got to be the chairman to sell up ASAP.
Don't think football works like that these days in terms of chairmans selling up ASAP, but we will see. Boatsy said we simply can't be letting teams like Northampton and Shrewsbury win so easily against us. We need to start showing up for these games against sides that are similar to us. I have every favour in Richie, but the recruitment in the summer has really started to show how weak we are.
At Bogsdollocks, number 1 said, first time I've actually thought we are in a relegation scrap. Today was so poor yet again in both boxes. What were the 5 blue shirts doing for the goal? With the minimal chances we create, we don't look like scoring. I'm going Tuesday, but I'm not sure why.
Good tweet. I think...
Because you got to, mate. You got to. You bought a season ticket.
You got to make use of it, mate. I think Matt Simpson done a great pick. I think there were like 8 blue shirts in the screenshot with McGee and just walked through like 8 blue shirts and one Northampton shirt. Vince Howard 73. Hope you're well, Vince. It's been far too long. Says after hearing Richie's post match and the fact it seems the players aren't listening to him makes me wonder if Richie is losing the dressing room. Great point. Could well be losing. Look, if a manager comes out and says, I'm telling you to do this, the players have done this, either A, your manager isn't good enough, or B, your players have lost all respect for your manager and he's lost the dressing room. There's definitely something not quite right, I would say. Without being a fly on the wall,
I'd like to be.
I think a lot of people like Chris would like to be, there's something that doesn't quite add up and I can't quite figure out what it is, and it would be interesting.
Yeah, time will tell.
Time will tell, yes. Well done.
Orient Meat Pie said, it's the same every week. Decent first half, but no end product. Lack of concentration before or after half time, and concede a sloppy goal or 2. Then chase the game, but not enough quality to recover. We've said it all season. Poor recruitment in the summer. This team is poor.
The Untold Game said Curry is an upgrade this season at left back. Galbraith is an upgrade this season in the number 10 role. Ball is not as good as Elmiz, and Kelman and Rell are basically the same player. Keepers seem to cut out their mistakes. So are our transfers really an adequate excuse for starting 11 to perform? Or is this just much worse after a week off too? So a few good points there about kind of where we were this season against last season from the Untold Game.
Yeah, I think I suppose the goalkeeper one's a big one. For me, Solbrin was settled.
Yeah, I mean, he's just signed a new 4-year deal at Middlesbrough. I think the wider criticism is that for the last 2 seasons...
Lone goalkeepers, right? So how can you... And they're young. Yeah.
In the scheme of goalkeepers. I mean, Keeley is 17, for God's sake. Or 18.
Yeah.
He's, but if you're Steve Evans, right, and you've got a scout of Rotherham and they go, this keeper's making his Football League debut and he's a teenager.
Yeah.
Steve Evans will go two big boys forwards. Jordan Clark-Harris didn't play, and I don't know why, for Rotherham. But if you've got him available, you go
and stand on.
Just go and batter him. Just and you'll score like 2. Like he'll be rubbing his hands at that. I think absolutely. And Hemming's only 23. I think Bryn was 23. Again, like I'm not saying you can't have that age of a goalkeeper in your squad as your number 1, but I'm not on board with the lone keepers. I've got to be honest. For me, it doesn't quite work.
No, not unless they're on their way, without sounding disrespectful to him.
Yeah,
on their way down, like Alex Chizek wasn't getting the game time at Burnley.
Was it? Of course, it was Burnley.
It was a team beginning with B. And he came to us in order to almost resurrect himself, and he was a good goalkeeper, but he was older. So Josh looked good, so let's hope he can keep that up. At Patrick G321 said, I'm usually quite happy clappy, but after that second half display I'm fearing a relegation scrap. Can't see where the goals will come. Think we're holding out a lot of hope that a quality striker will somehow become available within our wage limits in the January transfer window.
I mean, yeah, that's the dream, isn't it? It's just having a number 9 who can put the ball in the net. Nels at 82 penultimate tweet, and this one said, if I'm honest... Oh, actually, this guy's a Northampton fan, so thanks for tweeting the pod, although I'm sure you're not listening to this. He tweeted us, said, if I'm honest, I reckon you could play 78 games that performance and still not look like scoring. Your attackers were so poor. You missed a big chance today, as we were there for the taking. You'll struggle big time unless you have a good window. I think we're not used to that. We're used to kind of having like attacking opposing fans. kind of say you played really well, really impressed with you.
Yeah.
Good luck for the season. This guy's been like, unless you sort out your attacking line, you're going down. So thanks, Nelzer82.
Realistic as well. I don't think anything that is said there is off the mark.
I think it's always invaluable when opposition fans tweet the pod with their views on the game, because I think it gives you a completely different perspective.
Yeah, it's not airy-fairy, happy-clappy.
Yeah,
That's what the other tweet said. But this week, final word goes to @Orient_Ed. No fight, no desire, no passion, no hope. Some of these players need to take a long, hard look in the mirror and ask themselves if they are pulling their weight. The answer is simply no, they're not. A disgraceful performance.
So those plenty of views, lots of impassioned views. Let us know if you agree or disagree with them. Well, you can do that by giving us a tweet at Orient Outlook on Twitter. You can give us a message on Instagram if you like, Orient_Outlook_podcast. You can give us a message on Facebook or post on Facebook at Orient Outlook Podcast. Or you can give us an email at orientoutlook@outlook.com.
Yeah, moving on to something a little bit more positive, which is the Prediction League update. Massive well done, of sorts, I suppose, to the Orient ear @ Steve White LOFC @Orient Ed and @Billy Carroll 21, who predicted today's result. So get the 3 points.
Yeah, that means top of Prediction League, 11 points. Top is Rich Den M on 10 points. Theo Archibald in 9 points. And Talani, Dave Brew 47976911 and Strop_O. Thanks to everyone for all their predictions. So now we'll move on to today as we record Sunday, the 20th of October.
Yeah, the Orient women's team took on another Tier 6 team in the shape of Welling United. So this time it was in the first round of London's Capital Cup, which I think is something similar to like the Senior Cup in the men's game. Having watched the men serve up the same toothless stuff yesterday at Northampton, we were really hoping and looking forward to some cheer from at least one of the Orient sides. So, would you like to go through the team information?
Well, it was published, the team at 1 p.m. 7 regular first teamers missing from the list. Both keepers were out due to concussion protocols. And half the back line were gone, along with other key players. So we all thought this was not going to be good. But cometh the hour, cometh the teenagers, as Lottie Behan and Sion Kamlende, 2 new names from me. Lottie, drafted in from the girls' youth team. She deputised for the battered first team keepers. She kept the clean sheet. She stopped everything. Picked out high crosses, dashed out to clear dangerous through balls and saved inbound bombs, which had Galforce Wints behind them. And young Lottie commanded her 6-yard box, which led us all to believe there was no way she would be beaten. More importantly, Welling's players eventually got the same feeling, and they never did get one past her.
Yeah, there were some other good performances across the pitch as well, although too many to mention here, but it was good to see the return of top scorer Leanne Bates, who took all of 3 minutes to go and put us 1-0 up. So welcome back, Leanne, and well done. The second team is Sion Kamiende. Sion was a regular for the under-18s last year and is still registered to play for them. However, in view of today's performance, there's no way she'll lose her senior place now, so good luck playing 2 games a week. Pace, power and finishing are her trademarks, and she showed us all how we need to be exploiting those skills. She outplaced the Welling defence a few times, including 2 occasions where she beat the advancing keeper with nicely taken goals.
Yeah, the day and in particular, the performances of Lottie and Sion were much appreciated by Larry and Thor, who watched the match as the footy correspondents for LFCwomen.com. Made our live text service such a lively place to enjoy the game. So thanks to LFCwomen.com for sending over their match reports for today and the previous Sunday. Well done to the ladies team for getting big win in the cup. And at 1 hour, 24 minutes and at 10 seconds, let's wrap up this massive bad boy.
Yeah, so first up is the fancy football update. Rob Silverman is top of the Orient Outlook podcast Premier League fantasy football on 535 points, ahead of John Bellamy in second place on 523.
I've had a nightmare. I'm literally got like 20 points this week. I mean, got fallen down to 56th place out of 377 players. Mr. Cain, do you know where you are?
Nope, but I'm not that high, so you can take that one on me.
Fair play. In our Orient Outlook podcast EFL Fantasy Football League, G Hughes leads the way. He's got 653 points. In second place, Be Happy on 647 points. On this one, I'm in 17th place out of 41 players. Mr. Cain, any idea where you are?
I think I'm about 10th.
All right, not bad.
I'm doing better in this one than I am in the Premier League one. I suppose there's a bigger pool of players to choose from, and I've had Alfie May pretty much every week, and he scores for fun.
He's a very good player, and obviously double game week in the AFL fantasy football team. I put in Jordan Clark-Harris because I look at it as a win-win. Like if he scores, then I get points, and if he doesn't score, then Orient should have. Yeah, absolutely. Well. All right, positives and negatives, Mr. Cain. There's only 2 of them, but as you're our esteemed guest, I'll let you do the positives of the fortnight.
Yeah, so positives: the victory of sorts against Colchester, getting 2 points in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, including the penalty shootout win, and Ethan Galbraith and Dan Happy being fit once again. All
right, negatives. Could have been a lot more. We got 3 negatives. First up is the defeat against Northampton Town yesterday. Second up is the injuries list. Most notably, Sean Clare, which he said will be out for 2 to 3 months. And lastly, said it numerous times, the lack of clinicalness in both boxes. So, hero of the fortnight. Difficult choice on Outlook Podcast Towers, but after scoring his first senior goal almost 2 weeks ago, there can only be one. So this week's hero of the fortnight is
Mr. Zek Abiria. So well done, Zek. I think a tough couple of weeks. However, scoring your first league goal for the O's, hopefully more will come in the not too distant future.
Hopefully. I mean, yeah, well done, Zek. I mean, just to kind of take it back, something I've only just picked up on is that I don't think... Did Aubrey go? Oh, Aubrey did get on the pitch, didn't he, in the 73rd minute. So, yeah, well done, Zek. My point that had come to me is now gone and invalid. So, the O's have 2 fixtures coming up this week. We've spoken about them before. But first up, we entertain Rotherham United on Tuesday, the 22nd of October. They are 16th place in League One. They lost 1-0 at home to Wrexham. I think Mullin scored after like 16 seconds yesterday. Everyone will know they're managed by old foe, big foe, someone who is not well liked but loves the fact he's not well liked, Steve Evans. So hopefully we get to beat them on Tuesday. Then we're on the road as we go to Wycombe Wanderers this Saturday, 26th of October. Wycombe having a great season. They're 3rd in League One. They beat Peterborough 3-1 on Saturday thanks to a hat-trick from a sub, Richard Kone. I was reading his story actually, really interesting. There's a good thread about Richard Kone on Twitter about how he played in like the unemployed World Cup for Ivory Coast and got picked up by an Essex team. He's playing in Essex for 3 years, had an amazing goal-scoring record, got a move to Wycombe in January and hasn't looked back since then. A player who's playing, again, let me repeat, in the Essex League, which is so close to us. So, yeah, if you go into any of those matches, have a safe journey. Don't forget to give us a tweet before, during or after the match. But big week there, I think. 2 difficult games, 2 games where you look at and go, it's going to be tough difficulties.
Yeah, and 2 managers, one in particular, who know how to set their team up.
Absolutely,
to absolutely house their way to victory, particularly the overly sized one. I don't like him, and that's being polite. So, sponsorship reminder, don't forget to get in touch with Macca and their fantastic team of experienced florists to arrange any floral tributes that you may desire or want. Please call on 0208 529 4130, or you can get in contact via social media at Carol Langley E4 or Essex Biz on Twitter, Instagram at Carol Langley Florist, and on Facebook at Carol Langley Florist. Carol with an E on the end.
Lovely stuff. So that is it. Thanks for joining us for episode 367. And after a 2-week break from League One action, it wasn't the return we wanted, as it was the same old song and dance for the O's this season. Despite a decent first half, we conceded an early goal in the second half as we lost 1-0 away at Northampton Town to leave many fans disappointed and angry at another poor result, as the injuries also start to take their toll on the squad. We have a huge week coming up for Richie and his squad, with 2 hard and challenging fixtures coming up, starting at home to Rotherham on Tuesday and away to Wycombe Wanderers on Saturday. So if you go in, we urge you to get behind Richie and the boys, and you can hear about both of those games in next week's Orient Outlook podcast, where hopefully, fingers crossed, as we look to the heavens, we'll be talking about 2 wins, at least not 2 losses for the O's.
Yeah, I'll be happy with 2 points.
Paul's going to be fuming if he comes back to 2 losses. I don't know how I'm going to handle that one if he comes back.
I'll be back. If you're listening on iTunes, please subscribe and give our podcast a 5-star rating. Or if you're listening on Spotify, please don't forget to rate the show. You can even leave a comment on each episode, so please do so if you get the chance. And don't forget to follow us or add us on your on your choosing podcast provider. As that way you'll get all the episodes as soon as they are available, which no doubt will be in about 5 minutes. We are also on all smart speakers, the Fan Hub app, and we are also on YouTube. So listening to the podcast has never been easier.
It certainly hasn't. If you have an older relative, a loved one, or an Orient chum who you think will like the podcast, grab their phone, download it for them, and pass the pod. Chris, thank you so much for coming back.
More than welcome.
And returning. Hopefully next time you're on the pod, we're talking about a win. Better circumstances.
Would be nice. However, it's quite nice. As you said before we started, it's a therapy session for when you go and watch a second half Joss performance like we had yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Look forward to seeing you back in the South Stand. Chris sitting behind us as you are our South Stand chum. So we'll be back with episode 368 next week with all the information and views that you could ever need. We look forward to hearing from you. And as always, keep calm, stay safe, have a great week, and listen to the Orient Outlook podcast.
Up the O's.